Uh-oh. I got my oil changed the other day and I guess they did a sloppy job. Or maybe that's just normal for oil to like drip it out. Never really experienced that before in a garage. Yes, this is happening today. Well, today and tomorrow because it's kind of late. I'm installing my Slimline full-length roof rack by FrontRunner. Super, super excited. I've actually been waiting for this moment for months, but I just haven't been able to get around to it. You know, I moved and work, everything's just been bananas. This is actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I think this is the very first install day that I've done, certainly here, but months, maybe, I don't even remember the last time. And I know this is kind of a lame thing to be excited about, but I'm actually really excited to get to do the install in a garage, especially considering I'm gonna have like probably holes in my roof by the end of the day. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so let me talk to you about what I'm doing. I'm making the switch from the Eezi Awn K9 rack to the FrontRunner Slimline rack. This has been a big decision for me. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time. It's something I've been kind of considering and contemplating. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing this. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever I put on my vehicle, in my vehicle, whatever I do, it needs to be, in my opinion, it needs to be the best quality. You see, everything that I do is focused on excellence. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. In my business, we're not perfect, but in my business, my goal is to make sure that every clean that happens is perfect. When the inspection comes in after them, they can check off on that. And then when one of my managers goes in after those people randomly, they should be able to sign off on that work and be able to say with integrity and honesty that this was a really, really good job, the best job that could possibly be expected. When a guest comes in or an owner comes into their property that they've rented or that they own, they should not have any issues whatsoever because our staff should be able to stand by their work and say this was an excellent job. And so the way that kind of translates into me doing stuff like this is that whenever I put something on my vehicle, I want it to be the best quality. I'm willing to spend a little bit more money on something that's better quality than something else. I'm willing to pay more for something something that I know that's going to be a good experience rather than pay less and have to wonder or worry, which is one of the reasons why I bought a Toyota to begin with. Toyotas are a little more expensive. I'm sure I could have bought a four-wheel drive SUV for $10,000 less, but I might have been sacrificing some of those things that I knew that I was going to be getting in terms of reliability and quality with a Toyota. That brings me to the rack that I'm putting on here. I'm putting on the FrontRunner Slimline rack. Now, when I first was researching racks, before I put the rack that I have on here now, the FrontRunner rack did not have a full-length option. The only option they had was it was like a 3/4 length or whatever. It didn't go the whole way. And they were in the process of figuring out the engineering that was involved in making the full length roof rack option. But at the time, I really felt like the K9 rack from Eezi Awn was the way to go. I've really loved this rack. I'm just being completely upfront. I've had a couple small little issues with it, but I don't think that they're issues that are problems with the rack. I think it's, and I'll show you in a second, but I think they're problems that are with the system. Let me just show you. See, like this right here. Things like the channel being bent. I don't think it's necessarily a problem with the K9 rack. I think that I'm probably, if I put too much pressure in one particular spot on a channel with the FrontRunner rack, I have to imagine I might see the same kind of issue. That particular place really had nothing to do with the rack. I had a shovel mount up there. I think I hit a branch or tree or something and it just kind of tweaked it. Those aren't the problems that I had with the K9 rack. The main problem that I have with the K9 rack, and this is gonna be superficial, this is really not a functional thing, but the look and the fit and finish of it, it just kind of went to crap really, really quick. Like just a few weeks of having it out in the Florida sun, the finish just didn't look very good anymore. That's not functional. That's probably even a silly thing. I'm not saying that I'm switching because of that, but the main reason that I'm making the switch is because the FrontRunner accessories, there's like a million of them. And I find myself always using the FrontRunner accessories with the K9 rack. And the problem is that I won't say it's necessarily a crapshoot on whether or not they're gonna work, but it feels like that sometimes. With that said, the K9 rack's been overall a pretty good rack, and I will be selling this, and I think that it will make a great home. I think that somebody else will make great use of it. And the install wouldn't really be too big of a deal, except for the fact that, well, I've got all of this stuff I've got to mess with and do something with. And I really, really, really want to redo the wiring for the solar panel, because I just don't really like how some of this stuff turned out. But I just don't have the time to mess with that right now. I've kind of been putting off this project for a little while because I knew I really needed to give myself 2 days to do this. I've got about a half day today, and then I can take all day tomorrow if I really need to, just in case, and I can store it in the garage in case I get weather or whatever. And it's kind of nice to have the shade. Have I told you I'm really excited about having a garage? But first things first, I need to go ahead and unbox this stuff and kind of see what I'm getting into here. Make sure I got everything I need and just kind of start putting stuff together. Thank you, Josephine. Already though, the finish of this is so nice. It's so nice. And it's really just as nice everywhere. Front, back, side, bottom, everything. The quality really is impeccable, really. It's really, really nice. Now, one of the reasons why I didn't go with a FrontRunner rack to begin with, well, somebody said something to me, and it was something that I kind of remembered. You see, the K9 rack from Eezi Awn, it comes, the rack portion, it comes as one solid piece. It's all welded together, and it's big. But one of the things that somebody said to me, it was one person, and they said they really didn't like the idea of the FrontRunner, the FrontRunner rack, because it all bolts together, and they thought to themselves, well, we're on the trail, going to be bouncing around, and things could have a higher likelihood of coming loose. But one of the main reasons why I switched to FrontRunner, I told you I really, really like the accessories, but I didn't just like make a decision one day that I was going to go with FrontRunner because I liked the accessories. I knew lots of people. Actually, I've known a handful of people that have switched from this rack over to the FrontRunner rack, but I know lots of people that are running the FrontRunner rack and ran it for a long time, and frankly, kind of beat the crap out of their cars. I mean, they drive in much harsher environments than I do on a more regular basis. And like one of the guys I talked to after he ran it for a year, I asked him, I said, what do you think about it? You still like it? You still think it's a great rack? And I mean, his comment to me was, hands down, it's the best rack I've ever seen. I guess some of those original fears and worries, that I had really were probably unfounded to begin with. People's opinions are people's opinions, and you should always, take that for what it is. But I'm super, super excited to get into this. It looks really, really nice so far. I think the first step is to get this thing put together. Alright, start here first. Rack assembly, 220 minutes. So it looks like the first step is to put together the foot rails, and then it goes right into drilling the holes into the roof, which quite frankly makes me pretty stinking nervous. The thing that makes me the second most nervous is messing around with these rib nuts. And it's only because the one time that I messed around with rib nuts, I had to put a couple of rib nuts in when I installed the sliders, and they all worked fine except for one. and I guess it just didn't seat correctly and it was stripped out or something. So I guess the first step is get all this stuff off the rack, and then I gotta get the rack off the top of the truck. 3, 2, 1. There we go. That was fun. That took me like, I don't know, the better part of 2 hours or so. I will say this though, I was actually really impressed with how well the K9 rack held up, because I mean, I put this on the summer of 2016. I mean, I've been everywhere. I put it on before I'd done any trip whatsoever. I've done every trip. I gotta say, I'm a little nostalgic. This rack it's been a great rack. It's really held up well. I'm excited to move on, but this has been a great rack. There's a couple little blemishes. I'm gonna sell the rack. I don't know I don't know how much I'm gonna sell it for yet. It's gonna be a good price, and it's gonna be like pickup kind of thing. I mean, I won't ship it. Just stay tuned, watch my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, there's a link in the description below. Make sure you keep an eye on that, because when I do sell it, that's gonna be where I post it. Okay, so this is probably, hang on. This is probably the best access I'm gonna have to the roof in probably years. I mean, maybe forever. Who knows how long I'll have the FrontRunner rack. I'll have it for at least 2 years, I'm sure, you know, and beyond. So I don't think the roof has ever been waxed. It's maybe never been waxed. I don't even know if my detail guy, I don't think the roof has been waxed. I'm gonna go ahead and wash the vehicle, and I'm going to set it up to where I'm gonna wax the roof in the morning to get it, I don't know, just to kind of get it back to a nice baseline, base zero. I don't know. I think you get what I'm saying. Does look pretty bald, doesn't it? Let's go to tomorrow morning. All right, so I have cleaned up the roof, waxed it. Actually, I put 2 coats of wax on it, plus I clay barred it. Not exactly in that order. So it should be good. I've got these little aluminum washers here that I put on when I installed the K9 rack. So I'm gonna pop these guys off because I don't really need them. And this area, it's super dirty. So I'm gonna clean this all off and try and just get it as clean as possible. There's a part that's coming up that's kind of scary to me, and that is going to be drilling a hole in the roof. And honestly, the drilling a hole in the roof part is not really the thing that scares me the most. The thing that scares me the most is installing the riv nuts, the rivet inserts. And it's only because I've done that one time before, and I didn't know how to do it then, and I'm pretty sure I did it wrong on one of them. I think I understand a little bit more about, or a lot more about what it is, because I've done a lot of research on it, just trying to make sure I understand. Am I the only one that likes stale Twizzlers? So good. Okay, so the area around the holes are clean. The next thing to do is to measure and drill holes in my roof. Now, there's a couple things here. A lot of people are super uneasy about drilling holes in the roof. I actually understand that apprehension, but here's the thing. There's 8 holes in my roof already. And whenever you're changing out your factory roof rails for a roof rack, at least for me in the K9 Eezi Awn instructions, it said, put some, these spacers, put silicone. I mean, just kind of dope it up with silicone, because there's gonna be water that's gonna collect there. People put holes in roofs all the time, and they seal them up all the time. And even if there's a leak, sure, it'd be annoying to try and troubleshoot and find. I'd have to pull everything off and mess around with it, but the goal is to make sure everything's sealed up good, so that I don't have to worry about that. With the K9 rack, I never had a leak. You know, and I didn't drill new holes, but I certainly opened up the 8 existing holes that were there, and yeah, I didn't have any issues. I'm kind of procrastinating doing this. But I think really, to be frank, the next step really is to assemble the rails. Seriously, I love these things. It's like my favorite candy ever. It turns out that I have like 3 tape measures in the house and not one of them has millimeters on it. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this.
Exactly. It will get harder, but today is not.
So I've got the spacers put in place. See? I'm gonna do like kind of a soft bolt. I'm gonna get this thing kind of strapped on there and bolted down just a little bit, just probably hand tighten, finger tighten. And then I'm going to mark out the holes. I'm not gonna torque this down. I'm just gonna get it kind of tight so it's not wiggling around. I'm gonna use this to kind of tell me where I need to cut. And I'm actually going to go ahead and drill a couple of pilot holes too. So by drilling the pilot holes with this on and with this still in place, I didn't drill the pilot holes. I didn't go all the way through. I just wanted to make like an indentation in the metal, if you will. But by doing that, I kind of put a little indentation. They're not in the right spot, so it could end up being a problem for me when I decide I want to drill, because I want to go like more in the middle. Right now, before I do that, I want to put the rail back on. This is taking a long time because when I drill the holes on my roof, I want to make sure that they're in the right spot. I'm going to put the rail, the foot rail thing back on, and I'm just going to make sure that where these kind of holes are, that they're lined up where I want them to be. They're a little off. Not really where I want them to be. I'm just going to get a Sharpie and make a mark. Alright, I think that's going to be good enough. I'm totally stress eating. I'm kind of stressing out here. Where's my Sharpie? There it is. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some blue tape here just to make sure that it holds the drill where I want it to, the drill bit where I want it to be. That way it doesn't like slip and slide, hopefully. But I'm going to put like several pieces of tape and kind of build it up. The trick is how I do that while maintaining the mark. Maybe I can see through it. Nope. You know, I just figured out that a better idea would have been to put the blue tape down, then make the marks. So the best part for you is that you get to learn from all my little mistakes and foibles. And the good news is it looks like I've got plenty of play here, so I'm a little too far back or too far in front. I've got a little room.
Everything's looking good.
Everything looks like it's working?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good news.
The pressure is like...
Okay. What do you say we drill a pilot hole? You ready? Uh-oh. Okay, so holes are drilled. Now I need to make a bigger hole. Okay, so I have a small problem. That problem is that the instructions are calling for an 11.5mm drill bit. I don't have metric drill bits. I looked for metric drill bits at the hardware store earlier, but they didn't have any. Maybe they have some at Lowe's or Home Depot, but I'm not driving a half-hour away to go to one of those places. But 3/8 seems to be a good size. So I'm gonna drill a hole in this piece of wood here, and I'm gonna see what happens. That's not gonna fit. Next size I have is 1/2 inch. Too big. Well, let me try one more thing. Maybe if I can just bore it out. I can bore out wood. I don't know if metal's gonna bore out quite so easily. Well, I've already got a hole in the roof, might as well try it. I was really kind of hoping to get this project done today, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I am actually going to try and find a hardware store here close by that actually has metric drill bits, because I just went and picked up my wife's car from getting the oil changed, went by the hardware store and picked up a 7/16 size drill bit. I didn't have that. I had 3/8, which wasn't big enough, and then I had 1/2 inch, which is right here, and it's too big. I have no idea what's going to happen with this rib nut on this particular one. I'm going to try and seat the rib nut on that one, and I guess we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll work out. I just drilled a pilot hole with the 7/16 in the wood, and the rib nut insert thing fit perfectly. Wish me luck. You want to know one of the best things about you watching this movie or any of my movies? It's that when I'm doing stuff like this, you get to learn from my mistakes. 1/2 inch drill bit, too big. 7/16 works just right. 3/8, not big enough. I have 2 different drill bit sets. Neither one of them had 7/16. I had to go to the hardware store and pick up a 7/16 size drill bit. So just so you know, if you're installing this rack for yourself, make sure you get a 7/16 size drill bit. All right, let's figure out how to get this rib nut in here. It would appear that I don't have the muscle or the torque to be able to do this. What? Who? Why? Man, this has been frustrating for sure. I'll tell you what, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not really mechanically minded. This kind of stuff is pretty tough for me, you know? I've never used an impact wrench, for instance. I've never really put in a rib nut insert. And actually, as I was doing this, I was remembering how hard it was to put it in down there, because you're basically scrunching metal together. And so doing that by hand, it needs a lot of torque. I drilled this hole too big. So the rib nuts weren't really the right size. I took one of the regular rib nuts, you know, one of these guys that came with the setup, and it wasn't working. So I basically ruined a rib nut. It didn't seat. So I was just so dang frustrated. I was so frustrated. So I went back down to the hardware store again. This is like the 4th time since I've been kind of messing around with this install, and they had a special. So they sold me an impact drill and like all kinds of goodies for like 189 bucks. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm getting an impact drill. So I drilled this hole out a little bit bigger. They had other inserts with the same 10 millimeter thread insert. It's not very pretty looking, but I think it's going to be functional. I was able to get this one in with the impact drill, and it looked like it went in pretty good. It looks really good. And so these two are done. I'm gonna try and put the foot rail in, and I guess we'll see what happens. So here's to hoping there is no more frustrations for the evening. That's it. I'm not doing any more tonight. So tomorrow we'll make day 3. Of course, filming and going and picking up cars and running errands and all that stuff, of course, makes it take a lot longer, but so you see that bolt that was up in there? So turns out, I don't know exactly what happened, but I can theorize. This bolt right here, what I'm thinking is that the when I was going in with the impact wrench, so I guess the caution with the impact wrench, I think those things are like really, really strong, and if you're not careful, I had read online that they can snap the bolt, snap the head off the bolt. What I think happened is it stripped the threads on the inside of the riv nut insert, but when I was going to tighten it down, it just free spun. I did notice whenever I was going in with the impact that at the very end it just goes whoosh, and I think that was a pretty good indication of what happened. So what I ended up doing is I dropped the headliner just a little bit here on the side, excuse me, and I put a washer and a nylon, nylock nut up on the bolt, and I just wedged this little wrench down up in there and got it, and then I used my socket wrench to tighten this bolt right here. Really, if nothing else, what it's doing is the nut and the washer are pinching up against the riv nut. The bolt is pinching down. There is tons of the RTV. Am I saying that right? Of the silicone. It's like gooped through and all around, so it shouldn't have any issues with leaking. Anyway, it's on there really good. I just wanted to note, I've had a lot of comments on some of the posts that I've had on Instagram to watch out and be careful for the airbag. You do need to watch out and be careful for the airbag, but it's not as close as you're thinking. You're drilling in, right here, and the airbag's really, it's tucked up into here. Something else I'm doing differently today is I've got that riv nut tool that I made yesterday. I've got the washers, I've got the nut. I watched some more tutorial videos, and it was talking about how you want to make sure you've got plenty of thread here on the end. Something else I did differently today is I put one of these little spiky washers. The idea behind it is to make sure that when the pressure is applied, obviously creates friction between the washer and this thing, and make sure that the riv nut doesn't rotate. That might have been another problem that might have been another problem I had. So you get all this assembly, screwed together here, snug it in, doesn't have to be super tight. And then I'm gonna put a whole bunch of RTV silicone around that, a whole bunch here in the hole. I'm just gonna slide that thing in, and I'm gonna use my impact to cinch it down. I need a 10mm socket. There we go. I'm super nervous again. Super, super nervous. Because if this doesn't go right, then I've got another one that's jacked up. I fixed the other side. So I guess I can take heart in knowing that I can fix this. So even if I screw up the riv nut, I can still put nut on the inside of the bolt and cinch it up. So that I guess that's my saving grace, but I'd just like for this to go correctly. I know that there's a feeling that comes with this, and one of the videos that I'd watched is they said make sure that whenever you're doing this thing, that you're just checking it every couple of hits to make sure that it's compressing correctly. The thing is, I don't know how to know if it's compressing correctly without looking inside. I guess I could remove the headliner and look inside. That looks really good. That looks really good. I think that might just work. I'm not sure. All right, so if you look inside there, see where the thread is versus how far the thread is here. Obviously this is much closer than here, which means the metal's pinched. I really think that it's pinched in there pretty good though, because like, if you look at it, you can definitely see the metal deformed inside here, which is what you want. All right, let's do the next one. I think we're good because I have an idea how thick the metal is on the roof. It's like 4 pieces of sheet metal put together. I can see where the thread is, and it's really squunched in there. I mean, I think we're good. I think we're good. I did this yesterday. There's a washer and there's a spring washer that need to go on each one of these. Don't forget them, like I did. I had to undo everything and put them on. Here, you ready? There we go. All right, so this right here, this is the moment of truth. I'm gonna tighten these down. This is the front where the rib nuts are. Must have hit a button. And I'm not gonna tighten them too much because I won't put too much pressure on them. But we'll see, because if they're not seated very good, then what the heck? Stop beeping. If they're not seated very well, then, well, we'll see in a sec. I feel like they're pretty darn snug though. Not any less snug than what I had the back. This one kind of felt like it was pulling a little bit loose there. I'm gonna leave it alone. I think it's good to go. It's not going anywhere. All right, it's time for lunch. Macaroni, cheese, and hot dogs. Thanks, wifey. Okay, so I guess now would be a pretty decent time to debrief. I think what I'm gonna do, and you'll know by the time you're watching this, my name's Jason Kirchie. Thank you for watching. This is my channel, Swell Runner. If you like this video, it would mean the world to me if you would support us by subscribing. Hit the subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that bell button so you're notified whenever we upload new videos. And also make sure you hit that like button and share it with your friends, and leave a comment below sharing your experience in doing projects just like this.